Welcome to Today Africa. My name is Amik Hassan. So today is another podcast, a very short one, and a reminder of my last update that I did, because there are a few things that I forgot. And I didn't forget actually, but I thought about it later that maybe things like this might come up, especially when I talked about the peace deal between Iran and Saudi Arabia, that China actually did it very well, and it was a surprise to many other countries in the West, so that is the thing. I just want to put a very quick addition on, because the problem with that negotiation is I don't think this is my personal opinion, I don't think the US and then the Western government are actually going to welcome that particular peace deal, because when you look at the US politicians today and their institute, they are failing on the global stage right now, because when you look at what China did, so it's I don't think that move by China, it's a movement that represents the unipolar world today. So that is just a quick update I want to make, because it is like let us watch and see what is going to happen with that particular negotiation, but we actually hope that things like that succeed, because it will help so many other countries alongside the Middle East, so that is a very good start is a way forward for the Middle East, so let's hope that the Western powers, since now they are actually failing on the global stage, they could not sabotage that. So that is I bet upon that, if they will not sabotage it. So I think actually I'm going to talk about later in the video, because I just want to give one or two updates that is happening across Europe. I always compare things in Africa and the way things are happening in the Western side of the world. So that is the reason why this channel exists, because so many things or mistakes been happening on our side in Africa that we are not taking note. So it's just now that our eyes are open, so we are looking at things like that. I mean, the Western powers running to Africa, trying to get the support of the African leaders to support the Ukraine war, and in my opinion, and many other leaders across Africa, I don't think they are in the interest of any war. It doesn't matter whether it's Ukraine, Russia, or any part of the world. I don't think the leaders of Africa are interested in that. They are interested in peace, so that is what is most important today for the leaders of Africa, because all these things, you understand, gets to them one way or the other. So let me just put a quick tips on what is happening within the Ukraine, Russia, and Georgia right now, because as long as these people are trying to get to Russia, it's a very big problem. So they will do everything possible, if they have their way, to dismember Russia, So it's a very sad story, because when you look at what is happening in Ukraine today, it's sad for the Ukrainian people, because most of them are fighting there. They don't even know what is going on. They are fighting for things that they don't know. It's really sad, because these are young men, fathers, brothers, they're losing their lives. It's so sad. So, and with that said, and these people are actually trying again to open a second front in Georgia. Can you imagine this? These are the people looking for peace, because what is happening right now in Georgia, because there is a few hours, there's a huge protest all along in Georgia right now, because it's a classic way of, it's a color revolution that is taking place in Georgia. And what I mean by that, because this news is for people in Africa, because this is my target, because these are the strategies they use across Africa to change leaders, sponsor this extremist group all across the world, to achieve their goals, So it's a classic way of color revolution happening in Georgia right now, by looking for a way to open a second front, with Russia. And it's so sad that they show to these people is as if they love them or they care about them, but they don't care about anybody. They just care about using you to achieve their goal. This is the problem, And then look at the population of Georgia. If I might approximately maybe a country of 4 million people, because they want a regime change in Georgia, so that whichever puppet government they will install in Georgia, they will suppress or oppress, to push that particular government or leader, the puppet leader, to open a second front with Russia, And if many people could remember, especially around Europe or western part of the world, many people knew about the war, the 2008 5 days war that went between Russia and Georgia. We all knew what happened there, you understand? And then you are taking again upon these people 4 million population, and then you want them to open a second front with Russia. We all knew how the war ended in 2008, which was a 5 days war. So this is not a good sign of leaders that are actually ready for peace across the globe. It is no way, because just like I earlier said, that they are desperate, because look at them right on world stage. They are like laughing stock. So they could do anything possible just to achieve their goal. They could use anybody to achieve their goals, So this is the problem. But we actually hope that the Georgian government sees this through, because otherwise it's not an easy protest, because that is what is going on. So today, if you are a country looking for peace, I guess you have to turn to China, because they have shown that right now across the world that they are actually the adults in the room. So in my opinion, if any country or any leader that is looking for peace across the world, you can visit a country like China. But if you are that country and then a leader you are looking for destruction or any other thing that could make any other, or you want to make your country unstable, then you can visit the US, UK, Berlin, Paris, and Brussels. You can visit, because they are good at that, destruction. So if you want destruction, or you want to create problems across the world, so you can visit those countries and ask them for advice, But in my opinion, I don't advise anybody to go into such things. Let us look for peace, because that is what is good for humanity on earth. So let me just shift gear right now to the actual story that is actually like booming all across social media. It's about the recent decision made by our hero in Africa, Museveni, the president of Uganda, because finally, he got the deal done that homosexuality is not acceptable in Uganda. So it's in their law right now that it's forbidden in Uganda. So they will never accept that.
Nobody concentrates so much on homosexuals. Nobody is hunting them. But because they come and want to force us to say homosexuality, oh yeah, that's how you get now a backlash. They are the ones who are provoking all this.
Man, I tell you what, man, I love my country. I love the country that I live in. Been an American citizen my entire life. I love the people. But I don't love the government, and I see the government for what it is. Many people are starting to see the tear down from within inside our own government, and they don't even take care of their people, and they think that they can go into other nations with their extremist ideology and be the big bad bully and is going to dictate to other nations how they're going to live and do things in their country, and if they don't abide and listen to them, they're going to remove things from them. That's the definition of communism. And a lot of things that are being revealed about what our government has done in many, many other nations, including the Middle East, what's happening with Russia and all these other places, as you see nations separating from America, the crumble happening, and judgment is upon America. And it's our own fault. For far too long, America has been prideful. And I'm very grateful for the men and women who have died serving for our freedoms, now to watch our freedoms being taken. They don't take care of their own people. And I stand with Uganda. You're not going to go into another country and dictate to their president and their God-given rights on how they're going to live and do things in their country. And this is the tactics of the big bad bully, the government. And if you can't see it for what it is, I pray that your eyes are open, because these viewpoints and extremist ideologies that only in America, that are through the TVs that we watch, that program, and we see the society, the depraved society that we have, and you extend overseas, and some of these ideologies they've never even heard of.
In Africa, we have traditions, we have culture, you know. We respect our tradition, our values, you know, because when you talk about, let me bring an example here, the European continent, EU, when they talk about values, because I never understood which values they're talking about, because every day we hear about values, the EU values, but they've actually not outlined these values to some of us, so we know actually what are the EU values, you know. But in Africa, people clearly know the values and respect culture that exist in Africa, you know. So after that, the president of Uganda have made his decision clear, and it's in their constitution now that it's forbidden and it's not acceptable in Uganda. The big boys in the State Department, it's now a problem for them. So now there is a huge conflict or clash between Uganda and United States. This is not a clash between Uganda and United States. This is a clash between Africa and America, or the Western powers, or the collective West, because we are two different people, two different tradition and culture. But if these people are trying to impose things, practice that is not in our doctrine, it's not in our practice or culture, and then we accept that, tomorrow there's going to come another thing. Because right now, if people watch all across social media, you see certain books that says gay BC, you know, even for kids. It's people who are looking social media every gay BC. So just imagine the gay BC. There's a book, and then there's another book again. I even saw they are trying to accept that here or whatever. It's a book. It's across America. People who live in America, they know. There's a book wherein they are trying to encourage parents to have sex in front of kids. So there's a book, it's available somewhere, you know. If you search across social media, you could see. So if we in Africa, our leaders, you understand, we accept this LGBT in Africa, that will come next, you know. So how could parent be having sex in front of kids? Or even you could be breastfeeding your kids and at the same time, and then you be breastfeeding your child and at the same time you're having sex, you know. So these are the things that you know, these are satanic acts. These are you don't know, you know. So what is going on? And the problem is they forget that we are two different people, you know. And they always try to target Africa because they think Africa is the weak spot. That is where they should go, you know. And we know what is going to come for Uganda, you know. It's going to be sanctions. That we all know, you know. But this time round, I really hope that the AU or ECOWAS, let me say the AU, the African Union, it's really ready to answer back upon whichever sanction they will impose on Uganda. Because why? They got away with the sanction with Zimbabwe, because the sanction on Zimbabwe for over many years, or 10 years or more now, it was a very illegal sanction on Zimbabwe, because this sanction on Zimbabwe, it was not a sanction from the United Nations, or let me say the United Nations. It was not a sanction from United Nations. This was just a sanction imposed by America and endorsed by the EU. So this is the problem. And the purpose of that particular sanction was designed for a regime change in Zimbabwe. So because these are some of the reasons when they are talking about sanction, because sanction is designed to punish the people, so that the people will rise up against the sitting government, and then they kick them in power, and they could install their own puppet leader, that they could get their goal achieved. So this is the reason why most of these Western powers put sanctions against these countries in Africa, or countries in the Middle East, or countries that are not in the Western part, Central Europe or America. So this is the thing with sanction. So, but and in my opinion, sanction could not go just one way. So if they decide to sanction a sovereign state that made a sovereign decision, then I think the AU should be ready to suspend all Western mining activities all across Africa. Because if you sanction us, and then definitely they will try to disconnect Uganda from their Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi, I mean the financial system, because I always call it Wi-Fi. So because these are the most powerful sanctions. They have the financial system, because as for food security, this is my opinion. I guess many other people across Africa will agree with me that we don't depend on the West for food, because Africa could feed itself. I remember, let me just make a quick example when this legendary YouTuber in Ghana called Wudemaya, when he went to Berlin for a conference, and then he was like giving an interview to the Minister of Agriculture in Germany, and then Wudemaya asked him a question, say, why are people saying there is global food shortage, something of the sort, and then Africa is short of food? And then Wudemaya said, but I guess Africa is a very different continent, and I know Africa could feed itself, but why are people saying something like that? And then instead of this man answers Wudemaya, right away jump to another topic, Vladimir Putin. Oh, Putin want to punish the world, Putin want to starve the world, Putin want to do this, Putin want to do that. Imagine if Wudemaya was a small boy. You are planting a hatred seed in his head for something or somebody. So you see, so this is the campaign they have been doing for many years across Africa, and we are buying to things like this. Because when you listen to these CNN, BBC, DW, because DW is German media, on all this Western media, these are the things they say to people. So just took the question Wudemaya asked this man, and where he jumped to, very different topic. So let me come back to these things, So if actually the United States, because whatever sanction United States impose on any other country, the European Union always endorse. These two people, they work together, because they actually have a goal to punish Africa, because it's so sad that you see some countries across Africa, actually working with these people, thinking they will really help them, For how long this relationship has been going on between Africa and Europe? For many, many years. What is the benefit? What have we acquired from this relationship? Nothing. It's always failure. So they made us think that without the West, Africa could not survive. This is the thinking. This is what they have planted in our head, like that without Europe or America, Africa could not survive. But trust me, it is the other way around. Because Africa could feed itself. Because they threaten Africa with this technology, advanced technology that they disconnect it from so many other things, you understand? Africa, we don't care about too much technology. Who want to go to space? Who in Africa want to go to space or want to go to Mars? Nobody in Africa want to go to Mars. So because these are the things they are showing us, is as if we can't survive without them. But it's the other way around. Africa could survive. So let us, Africa, we actually have to look upon the AU, because the sanction or sabotage is going to come all across Uganda, because they are going to use these opposition groups, especially someone like Bobby Wine, the Ugandan opposition leader, that I don't even trust, because these are people who are desperate to become president, you understand? So these are the people, these are the target group they look for, design these people, empower them, finance them, and then form a group, and then they begin to protest against sitting government. And when that happens, it's for a regime change. So that is why I hate anybody that will tell me you're a patriotic citizen of Africa, and then you are taking money from foreign donors, foreign powers, to demonstrate against your government. That is no sign of patriotism. So nobody will tell me that, because when you're a patriotic citizen, you're a patriotic African, you should respect your leader. They are not perfect. That one we 100%, we know they are not perfect. So many red flags. But when it comes to our culture, when it comes to our discipline in Africa, our values, we should not jeopardize that because of printed dollars or printed euros, because these are the things they're actually going to do in the future, like to sponsor this extremist group across Africa, terrorist group and everything, Boko Haram. These are the acts of these people. Because if it's not because of these people, their activities across Africa, trust me, there will be no war in Africa. Africa should be peaceful today. But just because of their dubious activities across Africa, so it is making the continent unstable. There is conflict everywhere because of their activities. So this time, we will urge the AU, if this EU or America decides to sanction Uganda because of a sovereign decision made, then every Western company, mining companies all across Africa should stop. Because you cannot sanction me and then you are taking benefit from Africa that could better the life of your people across your continent, and then me, my people are dying, because that is why you design the sanction. Let me bring a quick example. Look at Congo today. All the Teslas people driving in America, in Europe, they cost under the cost of what? Children are dying in Congo. Women are being abused in Congo. Because why? 4 of the components that they are using to make the battery for Tesla is from Congo. It's from Congo. So people are driving these cars in America or Europe, this Tesla car, in the cost of what? Child abuse in Africa. Go to Congo today. Check. Look at those places. The component. How you call it? These 4 components that are actually powered by these Tesla. It's from Congo. Do they care about that? No, they don't care. Because why? It suits their comfort. Because why? These people are working for Tesla. Because that is how I put it. So Africa has to stand its ground this time. For every sanction they put on, illegal sanction put on African countries, I think the EU should be ready to sanction. Because look at when the EU is putting a sanction on African countries, you understand? All the states across EU, you understand? They all impose sanction. It's one. So the same way, Africa, all the Western mining companies across Africa should be sanctioned and kick them out of the continent. Because it is too much now. Because they are desperate right now. You know, if you check on my last video, few of my videos that I made last, because I talked about this, that when these people are becoming weaker on the global stage, they are desperate. So they could do things, you know, they could do abnormal things. So we actually have to stand our ground this time to protect our minerals, because that is what that is the main purpose why they are in Africa. You know, so, and then the other most important thing again, that we have to take care of ourselves in Africa. These opposition leaders, these extremist group in Africa, taking money from these powers, you understand? Because when you collect money from them, you have to deliver. That is the problem. Because when you collect money, you have to deliver. Because all these groups, and I don't want to name some certain countries right now across Africa, engaging in women empowerment, civil society. Many of these people that are working with these people, women empowerment, civil society, they don't even know the reason why these people are engaging them. You know, because they are going to empower these people, make them in a way that they will be very powerful to get to a certain position in government. So whenever they want to achieve their goals, they use these people that they've already empowered. Those are the people they are using to get you out of office to achieve their goals. So we actually, Africa, we have so much to learn right now, because every time we think when they are there with these their donor, these Western aid, US aid, these are the problems in Africa. Go to New York today, see how many homeless people in New York. They need this US aid, but they are not getting it. Instead, they are taking the US aid to Africa. Because why? Africa is what? The dumping hole. They use Africa. But they should as well take this US aid. There's a recent disaster just now in America, the train disaster. Those people, they need a US aid. They actually need it. So they should get it, not for Africa. Because these are the problems in Africa, these aid, these NGOs. Most people working with these NGOs in Africa, they don't even know what they are doing. They don't even know the reasons for these NGOs that are actually working in Africa. They don't even know the reasons, you know, because they use these NGOs to achieve their goals. Because when you are working with these people, you guys are doing two jobs. They know what they are doing, and then they've already told you what to do. You are doing different things. They are doing something different, you know. But all we see in Africa, NGO and money, because we are proud working for an NGO, Western NGOs. No, these are the problems of Africa. So we have to take note of these things, you understand? And Africa has to take care of itself. The leaders, you have to take care of the citizens, because when you take care of the citizens, you understand, because nobody will come with Western aid or money printing, you understand, and use these people, you understand, to destabilize the continent. Because this is the problem with you, the leaders, as well, again, in Africa. Because when we are talking that these people are actually sabotaging the peace on the continent, but you guys are as well contributing to this. So you guys have to change ways, strategies, reform this continent, reform Africa. Because when you reform Africa, trust me, these people will have no opportunity to invade Africa or to exploit Africa. But just because we have corrupt politicians across Africa, these are the people they approach, you know. Until we stop these things, then they will start to respect Africa. Because there is no law the EU or America will pass across their continent, you understand? And me as a black man trying to violate the law, it's a problem. People who live across Europe, they know. So why will Africa impose or use its sovereign power to constitute their rules upon the continent, and then you want to change it? You think you are the what, Mr. Have Right? No, it doesn't work like that. Take your US aid, take everything that you have, you understand? Africa, we could feed ourselves in Africa. The continent is rich. We only need, the leaders, they only need to take care of the continent, you understand? And have a stable market and how to control the market from you people. That is why. Because you are bribing them. Because whenever you do that, you are destabilizing them so you get your way. What promise? The Western power, they made so much promise to Libya. Look at Libya today. If not the worst state right now in Africa, look at Libya today. You know, so these are the things we have to learn from. There is no way they like you in Africa. They don't like you. They just use you and give you printed money to get their way. The moment they get their way, they are done with us. You know, so this is where I will end today. And if you like what I'm doing, you can please support the channel by kindly click the subscribe button and share the video all across social media, because these are some of the important information we have been lacking in Africa. So that is why we created this channel, for this information to go all across Africa, so at least we start to learn. And if there is any other person out there, you have the opportunity to do what other people are doing, like what I'm doing, educate our people, explain to people across Africa that this is strategies that these people are using. At the end of the day, we will have many people across Africa. We call that awareness time. Many people will be aware of these their dubious act across Africa. So kindly subscribe to the channel if you want this channel to grow. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it all across social media. See you on the next video.